Hello and welcome back, YouTube. It's 9:52 p.m. Wednesday, July 19th, 2023. I have been walking around talking to myself and not shooting video for quite a while. And boy, do I feel like a dumbass right now. But I can't change that. I don't know what I bumped on the screen to stop it recording, but God, did I walk around and not shoot a lot of video without being aware I wasn't shooting video. I'm not even trying to recreate that. Those are interesting moments that are lost. And hey, you know, ultimately, I'm just a random dude that likes to wander around and talk to myself. You know, so am I shooting video? Am I pretending I'm shooting video? Yeah, something like that. So still 105 degrees out right now. It's hot. I just had to get the hell out of the hospital for a while. It really makes me sad when people tag up signs like that. Come on, man. The sign serves a purpose. So I'm in Tell Street, headed south from the what is now the Banner University Hospital campus, which is the hospital formerly known as Good Samaritan Hospital. Has a very rich history, and someday I want to do a video about that. That building right there, that's the Edwards Medical Plaza. It looks a lot different than what it looked like in the 1990s. It used to just be like a parking garage with medical offices kind of hidden inside and above it. And I remember the first time I went to pick up as a cab driver, and I'm driving around the whole building. And at that point, this didn't used to be a parking lot. This used to be a city street. It's Culver Street to the Culver Street still going to the east, but to the west, as you see, this has been turned into a driveway. And yeah, hospital parking lot, medical clinic parking lot. But what I didn't shoot video of, what I thought I was shooting video of, was all the evidence where you can see that this used to be Culver Street. And bits and pieces of old bits and pieces of Culver Street that I can identify as certain types of infrastructure on the old bits and pieces of Culver Street that show kind of what it was and when it was made. And I just find it very curious that shit is still in place. So, yeah, I just needed to get the hell out of the emergency room for a while and walk around, clear my head. And I kind of wanted to finish what I was talking about in the last video I shot, which I may or may not add to this vlog. So, as you may have noticed, I'm kind of editing my stuff a little bit differently now. I'm still shooting the full-length vlogs, but I've decided maybe a lot of that is better not put on YouTube and just sort of archived wherever I can archive it. Since really large micro SD cards are relatively inexpensive these days. And Obamaphone 3 supports them, even if my iPhone doesn't. Check that out. See that blackness on the side of the sign? That's a special thing that was added to street signs, freeway signs on overpasses where tagging is a problem to make it harder to get around. So, yeah. Tax dollars that could have been spent on making the neighborhood better. Of course, it wouldn't have been spent on that, but just saying. Tax dollars that could have maybe been spent to help residents in this neighborhood that are instead spent to protect public signage from residents in this neighborhood that just don't seem to respect public property. Speaking of disrespect for public property, yeah, we got some more tagging here. Am I in a bad neighborhood? Oh, hell yeah, I am. This is the Garfield Historic District. It's gentrifying, but it's still a pretty bad neighborhood. And in some ways, it's a shell of what it used to be because there's a giant freeway in the middle of it. That's I-10. And there's a giant hospital on the other side that has grown to consume a lot of what was the neighborhood. But it used to be a neighborhood, just like what I have to the south here, with things like, look at that, a good old-fashioned corner store. From it's one of the things so many of the urbanism videos like to talk about, of how, it used to be, walkable neighborhoods. You just walk to your corner market to get groceries and stuff. Well, they still have one there. Of course, what most people walk there to get is beer and cigarettes and lottery tickets, because it's one of those kind of neighborhoods. But anyway, is that a robot car? It sure is. I don't know if y'all could see that, but there was a person in the passenger seat looking at her cell phone and nobody in the driver's seat as the robot drove around the corner. I dig Waymo. Just saying, I really dig Waymo. And there's somebody driving a Lyft. I can tell from the Lyft light. Personal, the concept of personal cars as private taxis just blows my mind. Because when I had personal cars that I was using as private taxis and was legitimately owning and operating a small taxi company, there was an insane amount of red tape that I had to do that. And somehow all those regulations that I had to follow. Use 11th Street to Van Buren. I'm going to use 12th Street if I want to use 12th Street. 12th Street goes through the Van Buren, by the way. Foodway Market. So, there's no sidewalk on the north side of the street by the freeway noise wall, which, as you can hear, doesn't do a whole lot to stop there being freeway noise here. Yeah, we got a vacant lot on this side. Used to be a house there. Anyway, got a sidewalk on this side, and that's nice. This neighborhood is getting gentrified, but I can remember it being this kind of a neighborhood all the way through to McDowell. That's what it was like when I was like 13, 14 years old, and used to ride my bicycle exploring Phoenix a lot farther than my parents would have been cool with me riding my bicycle to explore Phoenix. But hey, as long as I made it home before the streetlights came on, I was good to go. Yep, there were no cell phones, no GPS tracking of your kids through your cell phone and that sort of shit back then. But of course, if I'd have gotten any kind of trouble that involved calling my parents, boy, would I have been in some deep shit. And the authorities certainly wouldn't have done jack shit to stop my dad from beating my ass, and I would have deserved it, for sure. Another cool looking, oh, it's obstructed by trees, dang it. Get past these trees and have another pretty cool view. It almost makes you sad that the new Banner University Medical Center tower is taller than what I like to call the spaceport with all its lights and stuff on top. To me, it was a really neat part of the Phoenix skyline over here, the way that totally bizarre looking tower was higher than everything else with all its red lights on it. Oh man, it's about time I start getting back inside the hospital. I got a ways to go before I can do that. I'm suddenly starting to feel the heat out here, and it's hot. And also, brain gotta poop. And if you get that reference, you can be my friend. I love old duplexes. Like buildings that were built as duplexes. And the Christmas lights, Christmas in July, y'all. Not to be confused with houses that were converted into duplexes, but you can see that's got 2 front doors and 2 front porches, and that was definitely built, you can tell from the architecture, as an old duplex. They used to be really common things. I would love to own a historic house in a historic area of Phoenix, but man, something's got to dramatically change with my income and the economy and the housing market for those things to line up, because I'm still, teetering on the edge of homelessness. Although I hit an important financial mile marker today. As of today, that's interesting. We got a bus shelter here, but I don't see a bus stop sign. I do think Route 12 stops here, but I wish the bus shelters had signs in them with some minimal route information, letting you know what route stopped there and between what time and what time it offered service, and at roughly what intervals. Because, yeah, we don't even, the only way you have knowing that a bus stops here is that the word bus is kind of visible in the bus shelter. And then you got the next ride stop, which has been kind of defaced. But, yeah, no bus sign, nothing, no indication whatsoever. And, yeah, not everybody has access to the internet. I mean, granted, at this point, most people do, but it shouldn't be a required thing to utilize public transportation. There should be enough signage at the stops. But, yeah, I think Route 12 comes north on 11th Street and turns right. As you can see, that's the route that the bike lane does as well. And I showed you the sign that directs traffic going southbound on 12th to 11th. I've never understood why through traffic from Moreland, and I'm on Moreland, south of I-10 is kind of routed, and you see like there's lane stripes and bike lanes and stuff. And 12th Street south of Roosevelt doesn't have any of that. But I've never understood why it is south of here that 11th Street is the thoroughfare as opposed to 12th Street, because 12th Street is the half-mile marker. Wow, I've never seen that before. That's cool. Wonder when they started putting that in and who did that. That definitely looks like some City of Phoenix stuff as opposed to something done by the property owner of the house on the corner here. I love this kind of stuff when they put something that pedestrians walking can see into the sidewalks. I mean, granted, pedestrians can always look up at the street signs, but those are up there where they're best viewed by cars. It's kind of neat to see that stuff as you're walking and not have to be looking around towards where the four-wheel death machines are to see what street you're on when you're a pedestrian. So I'm trying to walk myself over to the 10th Street pedestrian overpass. I feel like I walked across it once with Lily, because at one point in time, Lily and I were kind of having fun whenever we were driving around and had time to kill. Sometimes we'd see one of those and she's like, hey, let's go walk across it. So we'd park somewhere and just walk across it and have good, daddy-daughter talks and then get back in the car and continue to drive. But I feel like I did that one that I crossed it that way once with Lily, but I don't think I've ever used this as pedestrian infrastructure, like as a person who is walking to get somewhere. And granted, I'm just kind of walking in circles and talking to myself, but I intend to use it right now. Now, before I-10 was built, these were all square blocks that continued all the way up to McDowell. And it was a solid neighborhood. And this is the kind of stuff that people that are very against urban freeways say that is bad about urban freeways. I got mixed feelings about it, but yeah, there's a part of me that wishes this neighborhood was still here. But boy would Phoenix suck if it didn't have I-10 go through it. So I'm at 10th Street in Moreland. Moreland, by the way, as you saw, it tries to direct the traffic on Moreland coming off 12th Street to go south on 11th. But Moreland is a hell of a functional thoroughfare all the way through to 7th Street. And that's a great way to beat rush hour traffic. So I'm heading north. I do find it interesting how now that curb would have been built when the freeway was built. But some of the curb... maybe not. No, that looks like it was probably built when the freeway was built. It's kind of interesting where you see in places where the old curb is there, even though the stuff that was there when that old curb was built is long gone. And what is that sign? Oh, 10th Street Bridge. Yeah, and I never figured out that this was a 10th Street Bridge if I didn't have a sign telling me that. Can't say I've ever noticed that sign before. So yeah, that's to let cars know you can't drive across this. And I do wish they would have marked crosswalks at places like this. The whole Phoenix, or actually the whole state of Arizona unmarked crosswalk thing is shitty. But I get it. It saves municipal dollars. That's kind of neat. Each sidewalk has a unmarked crosswalk, and they come together right here for the pedestrian overpass. want to say this was built probably like 1988, 1989. And it's been really well maintained, and amazingly, this one is not functioning as a homeless shelter. Although, to be fair, I noticed that the one on Maryland was clear when I went under it earlier today. And I think a lot of these kind of spots where normally there are homeless people congregating, I think a lot of these spots are just being cleared now by the fact that it's just so brutally hot in the daytime. And it's still pretty brutally hot right now. I never noticed like the view of the highway signs from here. Those structures that hold the highway signs look so small when you drive under them, but wow, it's really something seeing it at a little below eye level from right here. And unfortunately, it's too dark for me to get particularly good video of it. One point in time, there was talk of light rail in that median. That's never going to happen. But that's it. You ever wondered why the median is so wide on I-10 and clear and empty like that? That's the reason. Although there's not a lot of information about that on the interwebs. At least I haven't been able to find much about it. And this is a different perspective of the 7th Street. Now I'm looking west on I-10. Different perspective and view of the 7th Street off-ramp going to the right, and then this 3rd Street day-parted HOV off-ramp going to the left. I really do like the way they designed this, although it makes me very sad that there's a shell of a transit center in the middle underneath the tunnel that's just empty, never got finished, and is totally not in use. That's one of my life goals someday, is to make enough of the right connections that I can actually go in there and shoot some video of it. Because ever since that was built, and started getting built in, I want to say like 1988, 1989, I've been absolutely fascinated and have wanted to see it. And now it's all these years later, and instead of being a teenager who's super curious about urban planning, I'm a middle-aged man who's still super curious about urban planning. And will probably never be able to make a career of that, because even if I was to start going to college for it now, by the time I had a degree, nobody's going to want to hire a 60-year-old man to an entry-level position. And how far am I going to get beyond an entry-level position between 60 and the point where I'm as mentally incapable of doing that kind of job as the President of the United States is. So I was talking about Culver Street being turned into a parking lot and driveway where it used to be a street, and this is the other side of Culver, and you can see somebody just drove by there on 12th Street. These signs always crack me up. Just noticed this as I was walking around to get that view of the parking lot formerly known as Culver Street. Please report any suspicious activity to Banner Security at 602-747-4400. Yeah. Am I suspicious? What qualifies as suspicious activity? And that's neat how they got that fence open. And there's the sidewalk right where it was when it was a sidewalk for Culver. So I'm standing at what used to be the intersection what used to be the intersection of what used to be a residential neighborhood of 10th Street and Culver. And I find it interesting that here's the storm drain in the middle of this cul-de-sac that leads to where the curb for the corner used to be. You can kind of see where the curb lined up there, and it would have come here and gone that direction there. So yeah, the drainage infrastructure is still where it's always been, which of course now results in that drain in an odd location. Stuff like this fascinates the shit out of me. It's probably boring as hell to 99.8% of the rest of the people on the planet, but I'm sure there's other people that engineer these sort of things that pay attention to the location of storm drains and pay attention to curbs and can remember, wow, this used to be on-street residential parking, And now it's just all Banner Hospital and more medical offices on the other side. This hospital is just what didn't get consumed and destroyed by the freeway on this side of the freeway is consumed and destroyed by the hospital. But it's interesting how there's still bits and pieces of the original infrastructure still in place. And of course now it's marked as a fire lane. But this used to be on-street parking for the houses that were on the street. And that driveway where that guy is coming out, that used to be the alley that went behind the houses for their trash pickup and access to garages and backyard. Oh, nice truck. Sorry about your penis. Vroom, look at me in my big truck. Vroom, vroom, vroom. I was walking down this here, which is another street that's been consumed by the hospital, and I don't think, oh yeah, there is still a street sign, so it's still a street going to the west, but not to the east. To the east is the hospital campus. And when I thought I was shooting video, but it turns out I actually wasn't, I went to a spot where you can see it used to be a street corner. It's still got the curbs and the ramps and the sidewalks and everything in place, but has been so consumed by Banner Health that it doesn't even have a street sign anymore. And I was right. When I was over there, I did say, I think this used to be Walletta Street, but I wasn't 100% on it. But yeah, here we go. 10th Street in Walletta. Oh, yeah, this used to be a residential neighborhood. It used to be houses here. And I can still vividly remember houses on both sides of Walletta. And what I did show when I was walking where Culver Street used to be, actually no, I was walking where 11th Street used to be, I think. Yeah, definitely where 11th Street used to be. And I showed how you could see that what was used just part of just parking lot infrastructure now for the hospital used to be a residential driveway, and how I could tell by just the shape of the curb that it was a residential driveway that was built way back in the day. And yeah, here's another one. You see it's for some kind of a service entrance here, but that particular curb form factor, the way it's shaped and goes down, the city of Phoenix hasn't used that style of curbs in a long time. So yeah, that used to be a curb that was probably put in place, I would guess 1930s, 1940s, by the style and design of the driveway, and that would have been a driveway to somebody's house. House long gone, residential neighborhood long gone, but old school style driveway still there. I don't know. I just find that kind of stuff fascinating. Just saying. Oh, I said I was heading back to the hospital, and I finally get over here, and yeah, I'm still wandering around in the heat. I wonder if that's that big truck that was revving up. Oh, nope, that's that's an oversized SUV. I got a feeling I'll be driving a lot of that kind of shit for MLS. Not sure when I'm going back. I did finish my onboarding this afternoon. I kept nodding off, like falling asleep while I was working on it because I was so tired. But I did finish it, and I sent a screenshot of a thing where it told me that I was completing it, and like a text saying, I think I'm finished, and a little smiley emoticon to the absolutely gorgeous woman who called me the other morning to tell me that I got the job and wanting to see if I could come in for training the next day, which would have been this morning. And she was doing quite a bit of the training with me today. Oh my God. So funniest thing that happened at work today, and at work being MLS at the car rental center. I wish I could have recorded this because it was just, oh my God. It's just the comic relief. And I'm going to retell it, and it's not going to be nearly as funny as it actually was in person. But so she's showing us where cars that need maintenance go. And again, my job is going to be moving cars around. And the other people that were training with me, there were 4 other people, one of which also a very gorgeous, dark-skinned woman, who was wearing these ripped-out jeans that were showing a lot of skin. Oh my God, was that distracting? So she... Anyway, so what we were doing, what she was showing us is where we find the vehicles that need to go for whatever kind of maintenance, and she was showing how they would write it in some kind of removable marker on one of the side windows, and that's how we know that they're going to maintenance, as opposed to going back to the car rental center to be rented out to customers. And then she was showing us where the maintenance cars go, and there's all these signs denoting what the various lines are, which are basically to be sorted by what kind of repairs they need. Brill, 9th Street and Brill. The corner and the intersection is still here. Interesting left. This one has marked crosswalks, which is kind of a rarity in Phoenix. But yeah, more medical office buildings and parking lots. This used to be a residential neighborhood. These are all houses through here. So weird seeing these old city residential blocks all turned into medical. There's not a single, I don't think there's a single house left north of I-10 freeway between 12th Street and 7th Street anymore. I think it's all been consumed by medical offices and stuff. I mean, that's a good thing, having medical offices in the center of a big city, but I do feel the pain of the loss of the residential neighborhood that was, and all the beautiful historic houses that used to be here. And all the mature trees that used to be here. I mean, nothing against natural desert trees, but the shade isn't the same. So anyway, she's teaching me. Oh, and I texted her. I did not hear back from her, but I'm not sweating it. I think I'll just probably go there if I don't hear back from her by about, I don't know when I'm going to wake up. Tomorrow's, right now my focus is dealing with Allison, and God knows how that's going to go. But at some point, if I don't hear back from her, I'm going to go there tomorrow and try to touch base, figure out what my schedule is. Oh, and in other news, I heard back from Domino's. And they're ready to hire me as well. Background check finally completed. And it'll be about 24 to 48 hours. Meanwhile, 3/4 of a month later, hey, we finally got back. When can you start? What schedule do you want? I'm like, yeah, I already got hired another job. So I'm going to have them flex around MLS, because obviously Domino's is able to be way more flexible on a schedule than MLS is. Or than MLS is willing to be, I should say. Oh, God, I love public benches. The world needs more benches. Of course, these days nobody wants these, because instead of being a place for somebody who's walking to just get a load off their feet for a moment and rest and think, they end up being places where bums lay down and sleep. Speaking of which, I was riding with Allison, and she commented as there was some kind of news thing talking about how heat is really bad for the homeless population. It's got a weird noise from one of my phones. How the heat is real bad for the homeless population. And she commented on how the term homeless, instead of saying homeless people, they now refer to them as the unhoused. And I'm like, yeah, I hate how politically correct speech is constantly trying to rename things. I said I noticed that the first time when they stopped calling them bums and started calling them the homeless. She gave me a dirty look. But I don't know, man. It's most of my life, those people were called bums. Just saying. It's calling it what it is. And granted, there's a distinct difference between what a bum is and what a homeless person is. But if you drew a Venn diagram of bums and of homeless people, there'd be a whole lot of overlap. There'd be a whole lot of overlap. That's for certain. How's it going? Yeah, there'd be a whole lot of overlap. But God, and in typical me, I've been going in 20 different directions. Have I drawn any conclusions on any of them? No. Certainly an interesting view of the hospital, though. on what was Brill Street. Now, Brill Street was eliminated a long time ago when the spaceport tower looking thing was built in the late 1970s. But and I can't remember Brill Street going through and being a residential street, but I've seen maps of it and pictures of it, and it used to be, in the hospital, used to be a much smaller thing before that giant tower that now doesn't look like a giant tower because of the even bigger giant tower next to it. But yeah, still trippy to think that I used to be sitting in front of where somebody's house was, across the street from another house, and just how cool the architecture used to be around here, and how that's been lost and replaced by parking garages. Kind of sad. But I guess that's progress. Oh, so I was going to talk more about Allison. Yeah, I don't think I'm ready to do that right now. Hopefully she's getting some worthwhile treatment in the ER and doesn't think I completely abandoned her. Hopefully she's sleeping. I think more than anything, she needs some good sleep in a comfortable environment. She's finding it really cold in there. I'm finding it really comfortable in there. And I would imagine that she's finding a lot to be cold because she's physically wasting away. She is like skin and bones to the point, like, she looks like pictures of Karen Carpenter shortly before she died. Actually, probably a little worse. It's very disturbing for me as a father. And I feel helpless to try and help her when she just seems so unwilling to take meaningful direction in helping herself. But yeah, at one point she bad-mouthing me while the doctor was asking her and asking me questions, and she's like, oh yeah, she goes, nobody really wants to help me. Everybody that I go to get help is just trying to push me away and make me somebody else's problem. And I said, yeah, that's a lot of that part. And I agree with her on that. I mean, that's the problem with her being in an emergency room. She's probably been through 5-6 emergency rooms in the last month. They do emergency room shit, make sure her vitals are straight, and then send her back on the street. They don't want to give her shit for pain medication because they know she's a fentanyl junkie. And they're not giving her the mental health care she probably needs, or the detox that she probably needs, because that's not what emergency rooms do. I'm here more than anything. I had my rent paid. I'm pretty sure I had my rent paid. That's the milestone I crossed today. My total payout on Wonolo has exceeded what my rent is. So I can take a breather. I'm reasonably sure I got enough money in the bank to pay my rent. Do I have any other bills covered? Oh, hell no. No. But I started at MLS today. That's going, it feels really positive. Domino's Pizza's happening. Now, how that's going to work with my cars remains to be seen, especially in this kind of heat wave. Like 3 weeks ago, I'd have been like, my car's fine at night. Right now, not so much. I mean, we're getting daytime temperatures at night. I mean, shit. Let me look at the time and temperature check right now. It's wow, I'm being offered a delivery gig for Jimmy John's sandwiches by Wonolo for tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Yeah, I'm not messing with that. In fact, I'm not taking anything off of Wonolo until I know what's going on with MLS and Domino's and my daughter. At one point I almost tried to take HelloFresh delivery tonight, and I'm actually kind of glad I didn't. Because for not many hours of work, that one pays really, really well. Of course, let me see if Jimmy John's is still available. That's the Wonolo routine. I click the thing where it shows the job offer. And this is the cryptic message that I get that I had mentioned. It says, yeah, that phone's not going to focus on it, but it says, sorry, the operation couldn't be completed. Wonolo network error 1. click OK. I'm pretty sure what that is just bad iOS programming for a job that is no longer available, that got picked up by other Wonoloers between the time that the push-through message initially hit my iPhone and when I clicked it. Although it does show an offer for Jimmy John's, a work offer for Jimmy John's for July 21st, which I think that's tomorrow. Oh, no, the one I was looking at was the one I was clicking on was for tomorrow. I wish they put the day on everything. Like, I forget that it's July 19th. I remember that it's Wednesday. So July 19th. So that date would be Friday. What they're trying to get covered there is Friday, July 21st, 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Yeah, that's just asking me to destroy my car. And between Domino's and MLS, I expect I'll be, and Allison's drama, I expect I'll be busy. But anyway, I forgot what I was saying with Wonolo. I guess that's probably it. I crossed that so I can focus on two real jobs, such as they are, and trying to get my daughter into some kind of treatment that'll actually solve her problem, as opposed to being alternating between emergency room, other emergency room, methadone clinic, and relapsing and smoking more fentanyl on the street, which she admitted to have done over the weekend to her dog. She wouldn't tell me that, but she told it to the doctor. So, I mean, one of the first things she said when she came into my bedroom and was crying about all the pain and was so mad because I didn't wake her up. I tried to wake her up. Obviously, she needed to sleep. Sleep's important too. I don't know. Personally, I think sleep is more important than drugs, but to each their own. At this point, she's decided drugs are more important than food. Although I know she's having trouble keeping her food down, and her issues are convoluted. There's the mental health component, there's the physical health component, and there's the addiction component, and it just doesn't seem to be that there's any place that simultaneously works on all three. And there's also the nutrition component, the whole, diet and exercise, physical, holistic health. It's 4 quarters, and all of that needs to be handled. The emergency room is just trying to make sure her vitals are good, so they can kick her the fuck out of the building and not have to be spending money. Although at least she's surefire money, because I'm sure she's on Mercy Care. But, regardless, that's money from what I understand, that's money they have to wait for, because government. Heard on the news today that a lot of places are refusing to offer medical services to veterans because it's taking so long for the government to reimburse the payment requests, which sickens me. Like really, you're going to get your money. Are y'all that focused on money and that financially unstable that you can't wait for it to take care of American veterans? Oh, apparently you are. All right. Let's publicly, name who these clinics are, so everybody else can quit supporting those greedy bastards, and they can just die on the vine. Yeah, the world is fucked in so many ways right now. Hopefully me, not so much. Anyway, so not really sure what my schedule is upcoming. I have no upcoming gigs on Wonolo. I did go ahead and right as I was loading Allison into the car last night at about 2 a.m., I got my text message that comes roughly 15 hours before a job starts that's just, hey, do you realize you have committed to this job at this time? Text back yes or no if you're going to make it. And usually I'm pretty prompt at replying with yes on those. This is the first time I've replied no. And I got a text message response that pretty much said, okay, not a problem. We're, thanks for letting us know. We'll automatically do the steps to remove you from the job. But yeah, it was the first time. And I actually talked to the manager last night by the way, he gave me these sandwiches that were amazing. Some kind of like peppers, like bell peppers, but there's some other kind of spices and peppers in it, and grilled beef beef, like chunked up steak or whatever. God, they were delicious. My only complaint is they were tiny, but I mean, he pretty much made sandwiches with old staff. I like that guy a lot. I think his name is Dusty. But yeah, I told him, it's like, yeah, I've got some just stuff going on with my daughter and an actual like full-time job that's starting tomorrow, so I don't think I'm going to be able to make it in tomorrow night. I'm sorry, probably going to have to cancel it. And it kept popping up like all night long on Wonolo, but it's long since off the, well, of course, shit, now the job's like halfway through. Job started at 4:30. But yeah, there's been a steady stream of different types of jobs and places I haven't worked before doing, you know, warehouse work. There was one that was picking at a warehouse and they were only paying like $14 an hour. I'm just like, really? Y'all are paying $14 an hour for a $17, $18 an hour job? And then I looked at the location and they were at like, I want to say, I don't know, it was somewhere like walking distance from the zone. I'm like, yeah, that's just taking advantage of fucking homeless people that have no transportation. That's what that fucking shit is. But I saw another one that was also warehouse work and it was picking, and it was closer to where you know GYR3 is and HelloFresh and in that general area. And that one paid pretty good. But again, I'm not able to take any of that stuff because my focus is Allison and 2 new jobs. On that note, I should really get back in there. It's 10:33 p.m. already. And I'm just sweating like a pig out here. And I should stop the video before I enter any farther because, yeah, not trying to... Oh, that's something I was talking about when I thought I was shooting video and I was just wandering around talking to myself. And that bears... that's worth repeating. So, not the last time Priscilla came over to my place where it somehow went from us having a heated argument to us having hot adult fun. I'm still bewildered at how that... Because I would literally, you know, I think it was the fact that I was just willing to step up and say, you know what, just leave. Nah, just, if that's how you feel, then bye. Sometimes it feels like I'm simping for her, but I was, you know, I didn't ask you over here to argue with me. Because I don't feel like wasting any of my energy on that. Like, if that's how you feel, okay, cool. That's how you feel. If you have more to say, you got my email address, and I'll read it when I feel like reading it. But I don't want to listen to your bullshit. I got shit to do. Bye. And then, you know, roughly 10 minutes later, I was putting tab D into slot P, and things were pretty hot. Not entirely sure what that is, but I like it. It looks like something out of Star Trek. That is a really old medical clinic across the street there, and I love that entrance. It's really ornate, and no point in me getting closer to try to put video of it today because it's just too dark, but it's gorgeous in the daytime. And that medical clinic, I want to say it was built in like the 1920s. Now, on the back end of the building, there's a, you know, modern, handicap accessible, meets current building codes, or at least building codes when it was put in probably 30 years ago, requirements, because the front entrance has got steps and stuff. But God, the detail in the masonry on the... Oh my God. I don't know if my video caught that, but the person turning left from 10th to McDowell damn near nailed the guy on the walker. The guy on the walker was crossing with the light, but that light and walk signal did not give the guy on the walker enough time to get across the street. Wow. Yeah, this is a real hostile place for pedestrians. The person driving obviously didn't give a fact that there's an elderly person on a walker trying to cross the street, and the lights changed because they have no way of detecting how long it takes somebody to walk across the street, and not everybody can walk across the street in a short, tiny bit of time allotted when the streets are that big by this traffic control device put in place by the city of Phoenix. Kind of makes me want to hit the beg button and pay a little more attention to how short that line is. How short that light is. I hope I caught that on video. That was absolutely disturbing. That guy just barely missed that guy by, I'd say he drove within a foot. Like, how are you gonna how are you gonna drive that close to a person in a crosswalk on a walker, regardless of what color light y'all have? That's a human being right there. What the fuck? Yeah, it's already counting down. 3, 2, 1, boom. We already got a don't walk sign. And now we already got a yellow light. That's not enough time. That's not enough time for the elderly to cross the road. It's absolutely not enough time. I hope I can find the time to email the city of Phoenix about it, because that was really fucked up. Oh yeah, I'm in the expanded Lime service coverage area, so it extends all the way from downtown to like almost where my apartment is. It doesn't cross 46th Street, but it's kind of neat seeing the Lime scooters staged up in that part and that little extra bit of cement pad that's adjacent to the bus stop. I was trying to talk about Priscilla coming over. So not the time she came over and it ended up in being hot times, but the time she came over a few days before, where I thought that's what was going to happen, and then we just we're kind of chilling and then kind of talking, and then it kind of divulged into arguing, and then at one point she kind of sounded like I'm like, yeah, I gotta go, I got things to do, and that would have been Saturday evening, because I did have things to do. I needed to move my equipment, start setting up over at Royal Lounge. On that note, I haven't heard back from Joyce. I've been way too busy to deal with her bullshit and call her. If having me on karaoke on Saturday night isn't important enough to call her, and she made it very clear that it's not an ongoing weekly thing, then yeah, she can have disappointed customers this Saturday. Obviously, I have more pressing things to deal with, and the employment-related pressing things all pay better. So, I'm walking east down McDowell Road, by the way. But yeah, it's contiguous. I've only rode it once on a Lime scooter, but contiguous Lime service all the way from here to there. It's kind of neat. So anyway, back to Priscilla. She's when she showed up, I like it when women instigate intimacy. That's way hotter, because it gets really frustrating as a guy asking for sex and being told no. Like, yeah, I don't even want to instigate anymore, because you say no way too often and it fucking pisses me off. She still thinks I should marry her. Yeah. Several qualifications for a woman to be my wife. 1 is not a smoker, so she loses out on that. 2 is very fiscally responsible. Yeah, she loses out on that. And 3rd is DTF at all times. There was a woman who once was my wife, and believe it or not, she met all those requirements quite well. A lot of other negative things I got to say about her, but those being my top 3, yeah, she definitely met all of those requirements. So yeah, at this point, since the odds of being told no by Priscilla are so high, I don't even want to ask anymore. I don't. She turns around and makes me sound like a bad guy for asking. So that's fine. I'm laying here in bed. I think I had some clothing on, but probably just like a pair of gym shorts and maybe a t-shirt. You can cuddle with me. You can fill me up, whatever, something. I'm here. And I was watching an Amagassett Press video. Oh, and we've hit an interesting first in the last week. Right now, I am more behind on posting my videos than Amagaset Press is, because there's usually a bit of a delay between the date, because he always does a time, date, and temperature check at the beginning of his videos, just so people know what time and the date, and I do the same thing. And the videos on his channel are a lot fresher than they are in mine, because I'm so behind it uploading. But oh wow, I hadn't noticed that office tower had been completely abandoned. Look at that, that's not that old of a building, comparatively speaking. Yeah, completely empty, construction fence around it, and it's dark. That's sad. That's absolutely sad to me. You know what makes me even sadder? It's not that there's anything spectacular about that building, but there's probably some property developer that just wants to get their hands on that and demolish it. And that's a cool looking building. It's nothing exceptional, it's nothing historic. And I wish I was getting some better quality video of it, but you know what? I'm gonna miss it when it's gone. So anyway, I'm laying there and watching Amagaset Press and noticing the date and realizing, wow, I'm more behind than that, way more behind than that in uploading my videos. So I think so at this point I'm about 2 weeks behind, and I want to say it was about 4 days between the time that was shot and when I was watching it, and it had just been posted. I subscribe to Amagaset Press. And for those unfamiliar with Amagaset Press, it's kind of a First Amendment auditing channel, but rather than auditing police departments and police activity, basically what he does is assert his right to film in public by kind of pushing that envelope. And people tend to get super awkward about the fact he's standing there with a camera. Never mind that there's all kinds of cameras, surveillance cameras, always in the same place. I don't know, people just seem to be oblivious to those, but they see somebody holding a professional camera and what are you doing? What are you doing? What's it look like I'm doing? I'm fucking shooting video, dumbass. But why? Why? Because I can? Because I want to? Because I own a nice camera. That's all the reason a person needs. Anyway, what happened in this video, and it really got me thinking, and then Priscilla started to get kind of pissed about it, and I'm like, he was shooting, and I'll try to link the Amagaset Press video in the description. But if you want to search for it, if it's not in my video description, I would say type Amagaset Press and Cornholio. What he used for the thumbnail picture was somebody doing the Beavis and Butthead I Am Cornholio, where he wrapped a t-shirt around his head and looked like a complete fucking idiot. Yeah, you just made yourself a thumbnail picture, dude. That's awesome. I dig the architecture of that building. It's so bizarre. I'm reasonably sure that was built in the late 70s, possibly early 80s. That was certainly one that was there when I was a cab driver in the 1990s, and one that I went in and out of. Same kind of thing, got a sort of a spaceport look going on, more normal windows at the ground floor, but the ground floor isn't connected to the ground. It's above the ground, and if you get up closer, you realize that there's a giant parking garage underneath. That's just how car-centric everything was in the 70s and 80s in the Phoenix area. This is kind of wild. I can actually walk all the way directly down and under. I can actually walk across the building and under it. Of course, I'm sure by doing so, I'd end up being on camera and getting the attention of some security person, which I may have done already. But amazingly, once I've been walking around the Banner campus, haven't had security come up and say anything to me, so that's a good thing. Because that's always awkward. At least they got a leg to stand on. If I'm walking through the campus, I'm shooting video, I'm on private property. They tell me no, I got to stop. But yeah, so what was going on, and it got Priscilla kind of heated. Like, that guy's an asshole. I'm like, yeah, I can agree. Amagaset Press is kind of an asshole. But I get where he's coming from, and I dig what he does, and I enjoy his videos, and watching the reactions of some people is hysterical. I don't consent to you filming me. Yeah, I don't consent to your secondhand cigarette smoke when you light up a fucking cigarette walking down the street, but I have two choices. I can either fucking breathe it or I can walk in a different direction. And if somebody's filming in public, if you don't consent to being filmed, you got an option. That's turn around and walk in a different direction. That's not in the view of that camera. Because First Amendment freedom of, and I told Priscilla, she's like, well, what right is? I said his right. I said it's freedom of the press, freedom of expression, freedom of the press. She goes, well, what news agency does he work for? It's not a right. No, freedom of the press, that's a right afforded to all Americans. That's not something that is exclusive to licensed news agencies or anything like that. And it's really funny when people draw that conclusion, like, where did you get that from? Do a little research, because wow. But he did get into a sticky area in this video where he was shooting, wow, you gotta love when signs get changed and then kind of fall apart. Core 1441, employee, parking only. All right, caution, watch for cars leaving garage, because they're not watching for you. And it's interesting how this building, the pedestrian entrance, is probably somewhere inside the parking garage. You got to navigate that if you're on foot. That's how the Edwards Medical Building was too. I noticed they've added a new pedestrian entrance now on the street formerly known as Willetta. Did I just drop something? Oh, I think I might have lost my pen that young guy gave me. Oh, that's shitty. Well, I'm sure I can find myself another pen. So anyway, so we're laying there, and it did get into a spot where I'm not sure. Like, there were things Priscilla was saying, and there was some things that this woman that worked at a medicinal marijuana dispensary was saying, and then the guy that I forget his name, but the guy with the big beard that runs the channel Amagassett Press, there's things he was saying, and I would like to research it and find out what the actual law is. But he's saying, well, I have the right to record from a public sidewalk, anything that I can see, including if I can see through the front door of your clinic, I have a right to record that. It's the HIPAA laws are on you to protect client privacy. So if you've got a door that's visible from the sidewalk, that's a failure to protect on your part. So that's what he was saying. I forget what she was saying regarding HIPAA laws, and then Priscilla's like, she's right, he can't film from public, but I don't understand why she doesn't just shut up. Obviously this guy doesn't give a fuck. Why is she engaging him? Why is he being such an asshole? I'm like, because this is what he does for a living, making YouTube content. No pedestrian crossing, use crosswalk. That's the sign that makes what would otherwise be an unmarked crosswalk an unmarked crosswalk. There was a marked one there. It doesn't matter because it's late at night. Wow, I can't believe I've been doing this for over an hour. A lot on my mind. It was stressing me out being in Allison's rather nicely air-conditioned hospital room. Another interesting view of the hospital. It's so weird how that new boring tower overshadows the space station legacy Good Sam Tower for 1978. And of course all the stuff, the original main entrance, which is what I'm looking at. I shouldn't say original main entrance. The main entrance before the big tower where the new main entrance was built. Because obviously the original main entrance is somewhere else, because I can just tell from the architecture that stuff was built long after the weird spaceport tower. And that still functions as a main entrance, but now it's called the east entrance, and I'll probably go in that way if I can. Seems like I've gone in the east entrance at night. Anyway, so I'm curious about that, but I'm definitely making a point, just out of respect for people that are coming in and out of medical centers while I'm shooting video here, because this is me shooting my story. I'm not trying to invade anybody's privacy, but I don't know exactly what the HIPAA law is, but I definitely want to respect the privacy of people going in and out of a hospital. And I would want to do the same thing